New to the channel or did miss last week, what we're doing here is doing a weekly session where we come together, myself and you guys out there in the community, whether that's live on the stream or after the fact on YouTube, and we're brainstorming up this new world from ground up, a whole brand new campaign setting for what I'll use it for, 5th edition D&D, but I guess any role-playing system that you guys could want to play. Um, Whatever it ends up turning into, that's what it'll be. And eventually, when it gets done, we will publish it and I'll put it out as a downloadable free PDF for anyone that wants to use it. Kind of a campaign guide, like a full top to bottom lore, history, world, races, classes, all that cool stuff for an entirely user created campaign setting. So, if that sounds interesting to you guys, stick around and help chip in some cool ideas, and we'll see how it goes. And to anyone that helped pitch in last week, I'm excited to see what we come up with today. Dr. Feargood says, doing better than the weekend, as you know. Yes. Glad that everything is okay. Papa Howell, same old, looking forward to D&D tomorrow. Yeah, tell me about how everything's been going. What do you guys got planned for tomorrow's session? Now that you're not in the pocket universe of the crazy necromancer. Which I was editing and uploading that video to YouTube today, and I noticed that the first thing that it started with was last week was talking about you being trapped in the necromancer's pocket universe for 30 years or whatever, and I'm interested to hear what happens next. Maybe that was last Wednesday, so maybe you haven't played since then. I don't remember. Tweedler, what's going on, man? Tweedler's showing up with some new emotes. Some sweet Jesse Cox emotes. Very nice. That was like high quality art there for an emote. Nice little squid. How's it going, Tweeds? Had to cancel last week due to your party member being sick. Okay. So we'll just give everyone just like one more minute to show up, and then we'll get started here. Thank you guys so much for waiting and hanging out, showing up early. Really means a lot. We will do about another, probably close to another 2-hour session. I am going to end the stream early today. I won't cut off the actual world building stream. I just won't stream until 9 p.m. my time. Like last week, we did the world building, and then I streamed for an extra hour and played some Magic and stuff like that. I can't do that this week. We had to cut it off right after the world building. I'm going to go to the gym with my girlfriend. We've been starting to be a little bit more active and go to the gym and try to take care of ourselves. So been really enjoying it a lot, actually. Been walking slash running about 5 or 6 miles a week, and just slowly starting to get back into being physically active, and it's good. I've really been liking it a lot because I can just throw on the like the wireless headphones and just jump on the treadmill and then hit some weights afterwards and get a lot of D&D research done and watch a lot of good YouTube videos, check out some podcasts, and really catch up on a lot of the outside source material that I have not been able to check out in a long time. Waiting for the weekend. Got next level stuff finished up finally. Oh, were you doing some stuff for next level, Tweeler? Dude, you got it. You have to show me that. I can't wait to see it. Were you doing some logos and stuff for them? Oh my god. You guys, next level games in Casper, Wyoming. If you ever happen to come here for whatever reason, I doubt any of you will. My friend who I used to work with and who is now just a good friend of mine opened a game store, like a video game retail store here in my town, and they sell retro games and new games, and they have an area where you can rent out time and play on pretty much any console, any game, and they're super awesome people. So yeah, dude, if Tweedler is doing some artwork for them, then that is fantastic. I can't wait to check it out. And they're super great people. Definitely go support their business. Sometimes they play streams, and like me, I know they play Flim's stream sometime in the store, and they're super cool. Let's see. Howell says recently got back into it, but more heavy weights and less running. Yeah, I feel you. I definitely like once I like unload a few pounds, I'll definitely get more into strength training and and going back to the weightlifting. When I got out of high school, I got really into weightlifting, and I wanted to do like powerlifting and get into competing and stuff, and I just lost track of it and got way out of shape, and the rest is history. But I would love to get back into that. I love lifting and stuff. It just feels good to be active and do stuff. Now that we've been back into it for a couple weeks, we had a super busy weekend, and like all like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we haven't gone to the gym. So in the last 5 days of not going, after just being back a couple weeks, it's like, oh my god, we're so lazy if we don't go. So we just had to keep pushing myself to going. Uh, that's like what most people from our high school did. Got really into powerlifting and weightlifting, or got out of shape and let themselves go. Both. Probably that latter one, right? I think that's most people in general, right? Nowadays, like what, over 60% of the global population or something like that is overweight. It's like insane. You've seen a few with powerlifting? Cool. I definitely know a couple people. Like the person that got me into it in high school was a friend from school who like started just working out for health and fitness purposes, and then got super into like competitive lifting and stuff like that. And I think he still does it. Not really close with him anymore. Let's see. So I guess let's get started, guys. What do you think? Shall we jump over to World Anvil? There we go, right where we left off. So if you missed out last week, this is World Anvil. This is the tool that we're using for creating this world and campaign setting and all of our brainstorming. It's kind of a big notebook that turns all of these ideas into prompts and give you a place to store everything. Excuse me, everything as articles. So this is just a summary of all of the different articles that it kind of prompts you to create that will eventually flesh out your world. If you create a couple of articles in each of these categories, then at the end of it you kind of have a whole little mini booklet of kind of an outline of your world. So we've started, and then we can go over and check out the actual articles that we've done so far. And I don't know, you guys will have to tell me if you're watching this on mobile or whatever, if this website, like if me displaying a website on stream actually like shows up well enough for you guys. I can always zoom in if I need to. Maybe that's better. You don't really need to see the whole thing, right? So the articles that we started on last time, we kind of just jumped in and brainstormed whatever people came up with. I gave the suggestions that I think it's good to start world building with just a general idea, like what kind of plane or planet or world are you planning on creating? So come up with ideas. Is it going to be in a solar system, or is it just like an infinite plane? A lot of fantasy realms, they don't really get into the whole outside space thing. A lot of it's just like an infinite world, and don't worry about it. So are we worrying about the planet? Are we just focusing on the world within the plane? The day and night cycles, like what kind of world are we building? And then get into the creation, origin, and the myths and legends and religions and that kind of stuff. I think it's easier to go from big to small. I don't think, if you're creating a world, don't start with who's the king of the medium-sized country of dwarves. Like, that's very specific, and it's easy to get off track if you start with that. If you create the world first and then you say, well, the world is very mountainous, then like, okay, if the world's very mountainous and we're creating a world specifically for Dungeons and Dragons, maybe there's a lot of dwarves. Or maybe this world is very mountainous and there's no dwarves. Like, why is that? You can start with really big ideas and get smaller, and I think it's a lot easier. So if anyone has any ideas or would like to start with a specific thing, we'll start with the summaries again. Last time we kind of focused on myths and legends and religion and kind of that stuff, natural law. We got into talking about some possible ideas for natural laws with these dual suns. Maybe the world has two suns. The original one, there was a sun that was the source of all divine magic in the world, and then someone created an artificial sun to empower the divine magic, and it accidentally created a sun that was made of arcane magic. So that kind of explains the two sources of like D&D magic in the world. And we put a lot of, it's just like quick bullet point brainstorms. So if you come up with any cool ideas, just toss them out there and we can get into it. And I think where I would like us to start is obviously, if anyone has any ideas that they want to just throw out there, we can go with it as far as what type of articles to work on today. Most importantly, because I don't think that we have to base this on anything to do with the geography or physical makeup of the world. If anyone has a cool name suggestion, we'll be taking these throughout the entire process. At the very end, someone could still come up with the cool name for this thing. And let me just say really quick, if you're watching this live on stream, thank you for being here. Please feel free to, chip in whatever ideas you have. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, don't feel afraid to leave a comment on the YouTube video telling me an idea, or if you want to respond to something that we go over in the world building process. If someone suggests a name and you're like, that is the dumbest name I've ever heard of, you should use this name instead, comment it on the YouTube video and I promise I will read it and we can add it to this list of names or anything like that at all. So we came up with some cool ones last time. People came up with some actual like words for the name, and then some cool phrases or possible nicknames, or if you come up with a name for like a city or a name for a possible country or something, you're like, I don't really have a good idea of a name for the whole world, but you can have a lake that has this name, and like, come up with whatever you want. Some people were thinking maybe the name should have to do with the fact that maybe the plane will have two suns, like Bi Sol or Du Sol, something like that. So you can really get as creative or silly as possible, whatever you guys want to do. This eventually, will be your campaign setting and your world that you create to play your own D&D games in. I just want to be the curator and the person that helps people to kind of figure out what they want to create in this world together. I think that would be a lot of fun. Let's see. So one question that I think is important is what kind of game do you guys want to run? Is this going to be a very traditional fantasy setting? Like we have, I think we should probably have all of the basic player's handbook races if we're building this for D&D, which I assume that's what everyone is playing. But is this going to be super high magic? Do we also have like Warforged, like the robotic D&D race, or is it low magic? There's not a whole lot of magic. Maybe there's not even a lot of like elves and fae type creatures, and it's more like a medieval type thing. We could do anything. So let me see here. Is there a like magic section? I'm sure there is. Conflict, natural laws. I wonder if this, magic in the air. So natural laws and laws of physics and stuff like that. So this one, we'll just title it magic, or like how it works in the world. Flim, hello, good sir. How are you doing today? We're just getting started here. Thank you so much for coming by. What's new with you? How are you enjoying that new birthday feel? So some quick bullet points. Magic, how it works in the world. I'll just throw out all of the possibilities for different types of magic systems. You can have a super low magic setting where, like, kind of Lord of the Rings. Like, if you're a wizard in the Lord of the Rings world, you're one of like 5 people, right? There's not very many wizards. There's a little bit more magic. There's elves and some magical concepts in that world, but people who can actually do magic are very rare. So if you're in a low magic setting and you want to play Dungeons and Dragons, you have to explain how that works. And if you decide to be a wizard in a low magic setting in a D&D game, then you're like this crazy powerful being, which can add some really cool stuff to your game. It can make you feel like a party of heroes, And if you're in a super high magic setting and you're a wizard, maybe you're not even special at all. Everyone's a wizard. You know, everyone can do magic in this world. So it's really the type of like magic in your setting is very important to how you feel about your world or how your world feels about your party. Uh, how do the suns rotate around the world again? Well, that's the thing. None of this is decided yet, right? We haven't really come up with that yet. We were talking about potentially having two suns, but I want you guys to think like none of this is set in stone. So if you have an idea for how the suns might rotate around the world, then throw it out there. But if you think like, oh, I have this cool idea, but it wouldn't really work if there's two suns that rotate around the world in a particular way, like don't worry about that. Throw out the ideas and we can fix things and fit them around things, you know. I just want to brainstorm and get everything, you know, in one big pile, and then here in a couple weeks, once we have a lot of really juicy info about this world, then we'll sift through that pile and kind of pick out what we like, right? If someone has a really amazing idea for these two suns and it's like a two sun planet and there's a lot of, you know, cool history and lore behind that, and then someone has this idea for an infinite planet with no outer space and no suns or whatever, then eventually we will do a poll and do a vote on that, and then we'll go with one or the other and kind of focus on specific stuff like that. But just think general and broad big strokes for now, and we'll pile it all together. How'd that go, Flim? Right on, man. So, types of magic. So, high magic setting. Many spellcasters, individuals often can use magic. Magic has been industrialized, e.g., think Harry Potter. So high magic setting, Harry Potter. Like half of the people on the planet are secretly wizards and they can all do crazy magic spells and stuff like that. Like magic's very common, not a surprising or special thing. Low magic. Lord of the Rings. Not many spellcasters. Magic is very rare and special, often allowed for special people by the gods, etc. Let's see. Maybe how they work. Half the world is normal and the other half is dark. They have to carry crystals charged from the sun to have magic on the dark side. That's a great idea. Let me save this and we can come back to our how the magic works, and let me go back to the dual suns and we can add this to this potential idea. It seems like people are really into the dual sun thing. Like, don't feel married to this idea. Like, this is not a guarantee. We don't have to have a world that has two suns, but I'm into it if you guys are into that. So another idea here. Let's see. Potential. Is that how you spell potential? Potential. Half the world is dark and half is light. The light side is bathed in the divine magic of the sun, and in order to use magic on the dark side, users must capture magic on the light side somehow. Maybe crystals or whatever. I think that's an awesome idea. Pretty well. That's awesome, Flim. Sounds good, man. Glad you had a good time. So, one thing I was going to ask you guys about, if there's anyone that's super familiar with other D&D campaign settings, like the whole dual sun thing. How does the like world and sun and all of that stuff work on dark sun in D&D? And the what is the actual plane named in dark sun? I can't remember. um is there like a regular sun and a dark sun, or is it just the dark sun? I can't remember. I need to get some of the dark sun campaign settings and guides and stuff. The first one is from what, AD&D, and then they brought it back for fourth edition, third, fourth. My Dark Sun lore is super rusty, although I do like it. I think it's interesting from what I've seen of it. I like the whole psionic thing, and I really like the idea of, you know, a hard, gritty survival campaign with some slightly different races and classes available, and not as many, you know, summoning water spells that just make it super easy. Dark Sun seems pretty cool. It feels like people are super into that, and they've wanted them to bring it back for 5e. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at some point. So, potentially having to carry crystals from charged from the sun to have magic on the dark side. I really like that idea. So with that, I think about like, if you are a, is there any reason that people would even go to the dark side if they have to go to all this hassle to like charge up these crystals to get magic, to go to the dark side of the planet and use the crystals for, you know, like their light sources and their magic for their offense and defense? Are there any potential civilizations on the dark side of the planet that evolved there? What would the temperature be like? You know, you have to think about a lot of stuff like that. If it's completely dark and not exposed to the light at all, would it be growing anything, or would everything on the planet just grow on the light side and the dark side is just this like wasteland? Which, that's cool too. There's a lot of ways you could do it. Or maybe you know, maybe there's some crazy rotation, like half of the year one side is dark and one side is light, and it's like locked in, but then the other half of the year it's the other way, like it switches. So that would be really brutal on the population of the planet, you know. The sides each have resources that the other needs, food on one and minerals and such on the other. Right, right. I definitely like the idea of something like that. Like food, I don't think is feasible if you're being realistic, right? You couldn't live on one side of the planet and get your food on the other unless you're in like a modern, super modern world where they can fly the food to the other side of the planet and feed people. It's so expensive and people have to eat every day. But resources and stuff, sure. If there's one side of the planet where all the gold and metals and you know, luxurious resources are at, and the other side of the planet is the light side with all the, you know, the nice safe places to live and the beautiful cities and all of that stuff, I could definitely see the, you know, the big rich cities of the light side, you know, starting these businesses that truck the, not truck, but, you know, cart the resources back from the dark side to the light side or whatever. And there's potentially some money to be made being an adventuring party going scouting out the dark side of the planet or whatever. That sounds like a lot of fun. However, you also have to think, is it fun to play a game that the entire point of the game is to go explore a world that's like totally dark? It might be fun. Who knows? And none of what I'm saying, I don't want to discourage any of you guys. I'm just throwing out ideas to try to get you know, feedback from you guys. I'm just, think of me as the backboard to bounce your ideas off of. The edge of the dark areas could be populated, and the big bad is from the darkest region. Oh yeah, that's very cool. So let's note all this down. So potentially civilization on the light side of the planet, but some of the most highly desired resources are on the dark side, and the edges of light and dark are populated by, let's see, villages of workers, transporters who gather the resources, big, bad, evil boss may be from the darkest region. Who knows? MTMJ Moondog, political campaign to negotiate trade routes and alliances. Welcome to the stream right off the bat. I love you. That is awesome. That's what I'm into with D&D, is that kind of stuff. Like if I could have like playing the perfect campaign, it would be, you know, this giant endless unknown jungle, and you have to go out and try to negotiate like trade routes and bring back resources, and like this big political machine type thing. I love that kind of stuff. So yes, absolutely great idea. Let's see. Travel to the dark side. It could be underground where stuff is stationary. Let's save this and go back to articles really quick. So I want to, let's start a new article. Let me go back to the summary. Is there an article section for like what kind of campaign it could be? I guess we could just do like a generic article. So this, types of campaigns, plots, games. So the types of games and campaigns and stuff we can run. And thinking about this will give us really good ideas for, you know, more stuff about the lore of the world, exactly like the dark side stuff. So political focused campaign featuring negotiating trade routes, supplies, alliances. Dark Side Nation is getting ready to invade the light side for resources. PCs could be spies or scouts for either side, right? Ether side. I like that idea. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, underground focus on the dark side. So maybe light side gets all the heat of the world, of the sun, but it kind of heats the inside of the planet as well. So those on the dark side live underground rather than on the shadowy surface of the dark side of the planet. Just some potential ideas, right? I think we're coming up with some cool stuff. What if the dark side was made up of undead ruled by 7 high-level necromancers? That is oddly specific and awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. So this, I think I'm going to scrap this title. This will just be like more world plot theme ideas, because we're getting to some cool stuff and I don't want to constrain it by just my stupid title. Death to all, yeah. Okay, dark side ruled by undead. council of powerful necromancers. Nurko. I don't know why I capitalized that. My typing is horrible, guys. I'm so sorry. Powerful necromancers. 7 of them. Doesn't have to be 7. There could be. So why is the dark side ruled by undead? Let's come up with some reasons for that. What is a reason that the entire dark side could be ruled by undead? Did people on the dark side like become these necromancers? Are they liches and they killed everyone? Or maybe originally the planet had a normal day and night cycle, but a cataclysmic, I don't know how to spell that, cataclysm. No. Did I have it right the first time? Event locked the planet and the inhabitants of the dark side turned undead. Demons and light side angels, good versus evil. General, good versus evil. Light side versus dark side. They're just not morning people, okay? That's me. Like, I just moved to the dark side just to be in the dark all the time. Like, I'm fine. The necromancers were formed when the magic sun was created. Yin and yang. Okay. So maybe if the sun is like fully comprised of divine magic, and maybe the god created a fully dark magic to balance it out, and that rules the dark side of the plane. Who knows? The dark side is too cold to sustain food sources, and the creatures adapted by becoming undead. Undead naturally evolved on the dark side due to cold / lack of resources. That's a really cool idea. I like that a lot. I think that's potentially really cool. Maybe a race of, you know, humanoid type beings evolved and kind of saved up enough magic or created a type of magic to convert themselves into undead because they knew it would make their survival on the dark side of the planet easier. New race, living undead. Let's save this, and I think there is an article area, like a category for that, just that type of thing. Let's see. Ethnicity, no, where would it be? Species. Yeah, that's a cool idea. Absolutely. Kind of reminds me, and this, like, everything reminds me of this because I am a huge fan of this, but it reminds me a lot of Dark Souls, like a world where maybe a long time ago it was like a nice normal world, but because of some type of event or the type of magic in the world changing, the people had to become undead in order to survive, or things forced them to become undead, you know, so that's pretty cool. So, new race ideas. So, and again, let me just say this before we get too far, like, if you guys are just joining in, or if you're watching this later on YouTube and you think like, man, they're really going hard on this like dark side, light side thing, or the two sun thing, or whatever we end up going with, and you don't like it, like, feel free to chime in and say like, well, I have a different idea for like the origin story or the space lore of this world, and I think it should run this way instead. Throw it out there, and we will add that too, and then later on we will go back and pick what we'd like. So, new race ideas. So if we go with the dark side, light side thing, then maybe there is a race of living dead that evolved on the dark side to deal with the stances of their survival. Yeah, everybody feel free to chime in, absolutely. Maybe 1 week a year there's a purge on the light side to keep the undead hordes back, and everyone murdered during that week migrates to the dark side. That's a crazy idea. I like it a lot. That's awesome. Every week, man, I like that. I think it's super cool because I like that like purge type thing, and I love the whole like Mad Max just like apocalypse, and it's so hardcore. But every week that is brutal. Can you imagine that if you lived in a light side place and like just trying to survive, and every week you had to fight back hordes of the undead? That's awesome. I will add that. Let's go back to the articles. That's awesome. Let's see. Here we go. Purge type events where the light side must fight back the hordes of invaders. And let's just say invaders from the dark side, just to leave it open in case we come up with something different, you know, if it's not undead, if it's, you know, mole people, or just different people that are on the dark side, or if it ends up being, you know, elves, whatever we end up going with, we could still use this purge type idea. I think it's cool. So light side must fight back hordes of the invaders from the dark side on a fairly regular basis. If undead, maybe they take those they kill back to the dark side to join their ranks. Yeah, mole people. No, thank you for chiming in. I think it's awesome. Thank you very much for being here. I think it's great. We're coming up with a lot of cool stuff. I'm having a really good time. Thank you guys for being here. I'm super excited that we're doing this every week. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jesse. This is the Elder Council. We have a live game that we play every Wednesday. We'll be playing tomorrow night. The players just finished up their level 5 adventure. They're going to be leveling up to level 6 and doing a little bit of downtime, shopping and hanging out and stuff. A little bit of a shorter session tomorrow. And then next week we will be starting the level 6 to 7 or possibly level 8 adventure. And we're going to be adding a new player to the campaign. And every Thursday we do the live podcast that we just started last week. You can be able to check that out on YouTube every Thursday, and then catch the new episodes as they air live on stream every Thursday night. Last week we went over just some general ideas of why I wanted to start the D&D podcast, and we talked about the new Unearthed Arcana subclasses for the Sorcerer and the Warlock. Super cool, kind of Cthulhu, Squid Monster-y inspired subclasses that I really loved. And then we talked about one of the most iconic monster manual monsters, the Ancient Red Dragon. So if that kind of stuff is into you, if you're into that kind of stuff, like general D&D news, talking about monster manual stuff, deep dives into that, and, you know, my creative process as a DM and writer of D&D content, then definitely stick around and check all that stuff out. As well as this stream right here that we do every Tuesday night. So, what else can we add here? The undead thing. I like undead a lot in D&D. I think that they're super easy to use. There's undead pretty much the entire way. Like, you could run a level 1 to level 20 campaign all the way through and use undead as your bad guys, and pretty much have enemies to fight the entire way through the game, you know, in varying dips in effectiveness throughout the thing. But, you know, you can go from fighting skeletons and ghouls to fighting a lich or whatever, and they're still interesting the whole way through. They're fun to put into your campaigns because they often lurk in dungeons, which is a fun part of Dungeons and Dragons. But you can use them in super unique ways, like we've been talking about here, with maybe making a new race of, living dead, zombie player character type thing. Yeah, actually, I wanted to talk about that. So, Dr. Feargood was kind enough to email someone who had a Kickstarter going that was creating a guidebook on how to create homebrew races to play in D&D. And he emailed them and told them that I do, podcasts and streams and stuff, and they supplied me with a free copy of a working copy PDF style thing of the book on how to create races. I think it's super interesting, and we will be doing a review of that. I'll probably talk about it on the podcast on Thursday. We'll do 10-minute little segment on it. It's not really an ad or anything like that, but they shot me over a free copy of it to check out and maybe talk about it on stream, so we'll probably do that. As far as anything that I create and release publicly, I'm trying to make the Elder Council my D&D game design studio, my company, where I release the things that I create. So anything that I make will probably not be based on someone else's rules for creating stuff. I'd like to think that I could probably homebrew my own race without that, but if you guys want to use that, then we can definitely try, especially on the community world building stuff. Dark side chromatic dragons and light side metallic dragons. That's a cool idea. So that actually is a really cool idea, because then you can make it light side metallic dragons, dark side chromatic dragons. Maybe there's some Tiamat hanging out over there. So dragons control the magic of the world and are battling for power. Who knows? It could just be an idea. Dragons are always cool. Are there gods in this world? Yes, absolutely. But we're creating them. That's the whole thing. Is this world? We don't even have a name yet. It's the Elder Council name placeholder world. If you come up with an idea for a name, we have a list of that. We're literally going to create the entire world top to bottom with a whole list of brainstormed ideas from you guys, and then we'll go back through at the end and pick out what we like. We'll do polls and AMA sessions or whatever. We'll do whatever we need to do for you guys to be able to decide what we kind of want to stick with. If we come up with 50 names, we'll narrow them down bracket style or in a poll until we pick out the name that we like, and we'll do that for every category until we have the world created how we like it. But for the creation myth or origin story or whatever, we have a little article going. People were coming up with some ideas. We thought, does the world have to have a primordial or overseeing all-powerful god? Is there an original god that created the world, or possibly a super powerful being opened a gateway into this plane that was previously uninhabited? So this is just a ton of different ideas for the potential god, and then here in a few weeks, once we have more of these ideas fleshed out, then we will go back and pick the one that we like and go with it. And once we pick all of these things, if we narrow it down and we pick all right, this world has one god that created the whole thing and created all of the planet and the races and all that stuff, then we can start writing the lore of that particular character and how it works and all that. But for now, throw out some ideas. If you think the god should be a two-headed dragon that one side breathes fire and the other one shoots at rainbows, whatever idea you think is cool, we'll write it down. Eventually, if you guys want, if you want to simplify it, we could just pick the pantheon of gods that they recommend in the Dungeon Master's Guide or whatever. There is a section in the DMG where it says if you want to make your own gods, here's a list of all of the domains. There needs to be a god of life, death, whatever, the elements, all of that stuff. We could do that and say like, all right, we need a god of fire. Who's that going to be? We'll create him. God of death. Who's that going to be? We'll create them, and that kind of thing. We can go through and do that. But I thought it would be fun to just leave it totally open, and you guys can come up with stuff too, because I found just from last week how crazy creative everybody is. Coming up with the whole dual sun theory and all this cool stuff. Like I'm down for whatever you guys want to do. Fire and ice twin dragon. Yes. That would be pretty cool. I love that kind of stuff. And if you just come up with, a cool idea for a magic item that you would like to see made into the game world, that works too. Some of my favorite things that I think about throughout the days when I'm thinking about creating stuff for D&D are, artifacts or magic items, or even just basic stuff, a +1 quarterstaff or whatever, that has a cool story behind it and does like one little cool effect. If you think of anything like that and you want to see that put into the game world, we can do it. There's a section for magic items, or if you think of one that has to do with the world, that just reminded me, Flim, the fire and ice thing. Like in Magic the Gathering, there's a super popular card called Sword of Fire and Ice, where if you hit the opponent with a creature that has the sword, it does, fire and ice type effects, and the creature while wearing it is immune to fire and ice. It's like protection from red and blue magic, the fire and ice or whatever. So there's a lot of design space. If we come up with, the overarching picture of the world, then we can get into some really cool stuff. What kind of legendary artifacts would have been created at the dawn of time in this world, and all that kind of stuff. I just like thinking about the big picture stuff, and then kind of helping you guys to figure out what you want to fill out the world with. So let me see. 5e god domains. Let me see if there's just a list. So let me start a new article. I actually have a pretty cool idea for this, if this is the way that you guys want to go about this. We don't have to, but we could religion, start a new article, deities, deity ideas. So one thing that I think makes it a little bit easier to think about is you could just create one god for each alignment type. A lot of people don't like alignment in D&D, but I think it is just misunderstood a lot of the time. I think it's mostly just a kind of tool for seeing the way that certain characters would behave, but you don't have to, lock yourself into it. So we could create a god of lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil. And then think about it this way, like if you want to create a god for each of these domains, what do they do? Do they have people that follow them and worship them? Do they have their own factions and races of people and stuff? I think that's really cool. Moondog says, idea for a world name, Otrimke. How do you pronounce that? And what was your thinking behind that? What does it mean? That's cool. And then the true neutral god. Neutral good. Guess I should be consistent with my hyphens here. You guys ever get kind of focused on weird stuff like that, making sure everything's capitalized and hyphenated the same? I get kind of distracted by that kind of stuff. And then, of course, chaotic. Everyone's favorite stuff. Chaotic good. Chaotic neutral. Chaotic evil. Chaotic evil. The best alignment ever. Everyone loves it. It's Latin for take sides. Oh, that's a cool idea. Okay, we'll come back to the deities here. Sorry we're skipping around so much, you guys. I think it's kind of just part of the creative process. Don't just get locked into one thing. This is the best way to keep the ideas flowing. Just keep going into stuff as you think of it, and don't be afraid to just jot stuff down. So, name ideas. Where ideas for names? There we go. Let me write that down. And I'll put the note on what that means. Latin for take sides. Cool idea if dark / light side of world. I like that. Nice. Thank you for the suggestion. Cool, cool, cool. What do you guys think so far? Cool stuff happening? Are you enjoying this at all? I don't know how it's being perceived. I'm really enjoying this. I think it's going to be really cool. I feel like it might be difficult to kind of see the greater picture so far, but here in a few weeks, once things start coming together, I think we'll have some really cool stuff happening. Do I do this every week? So we just started actually last week. We I started streaming as like a just variety gaming and random stuff, no real focus, but I switched to focus primarily on D&D content at the beginning of this month because I just really love this game and I want to focus on this stuff. This is what I'm passionate about. So last week we started the first session 1 week ago. So every single Tuesday night we'll be doing this world building about this world that we're creating together. And then eventually when it's finished, we will release it. I'll put it out for free to everybody to download as a PDF so you can run your games in it in real life if you're interested in that. I guess if we ever like finish this world and it's like a complete product, then we can come up with something else. We can start a new series on Tuesday nights, or we can, start a new world and just do it again with a different thing. Maybe we'll make a sci-fi world or something like that. Fifth edition, yeah, that's what I DM. That's what my live campaign every Wednesday is fifth edition, and I'm generally going to be talking about 5e D&D when I mention rules or anything that I create. My personal campaign setting that I'm creating right now to eventually release as like an actual published, retail book is going to be a 5th edition campaign setting. So, yes, sir, 5e. But I welcome all editions if you want to talk about any other D&D or Pathfinder, any other role-playing game. I've seen some really cool sci-fi games out there that I'd love to check out and get into. Stars Without Number, I think, is something I'm super interested in checking out. Later this year, an Alien RPG comes out, and I'm definitely going to be getting that, and hopefully we'll be able to do a couple of one-shots of that on the stream for you guys. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Alien as in, like the Alien franchise. So I'm into all of it, but D&D 5e is going to be, home base for us, at least until 6e comes out, whenever that is. Another 20 years. I don't see 6th edition coming out anytime soon. Anyways, back to the deity ideas. I liked where we were going with this. So just to simplify it, if you guys think of let's say we have these gods. We have the god of lawful good, neutral evil, neutral good, neutral evil, all of this stuff. We could still have the one overlord god who created the others. The Zeus to the Olympians, the overlord of the other minor gods, and they're all still super powerful godlike beings to the humans or whatever, but one of them is still the god. And this is all just ideas. If you come up with one, and if you just come up with one idea, like I think the chaotic evil guy should be a wolf man that only comes out once a month and torments people, and those who sacrifice goats to him get an extra special bonus for the rest of the month. Anything at all. I literally just came up with that out of nowhere, and it's super easy to come up with cool ideas and themes for different gods, and then we can just run with it. Hopefully by the end of maybe a couple weeks or months, we will have this list. Maybe we'll have 10 different ideas for each domain, and then we can pick the coolest one. If everyone loves a specific lawful evil god, then that will be the main lawful evil god. And there doesn't have to be just one. There might be one chaotic evil god and 17 lawful neutral gods, and different races of religions worship different ones, right? That's kind of how reality works. Like Eastern religion on its own has hundreds of different religions with thousands of different gods, and some of the religions take from other ones, and they all kind of spiral out from there. Had an idea about how magic works. Spells are cast through gems. The size of the gem determines the power level of the spell. Casters have spell points, not spell levels. Each god could represent a different color gem, kind of like schools of magic through gems. Let's go over to... I like that idea. I like that we're thinking outside the box about maybe changing the way that magic works and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. So let's see. I guess that would be another natural law. This is kind of just general, like how things work, right? So, magic systems. Let's see. Each god, or let's say each type of magic / school of magic is governed by specific gods, which is not too, not too far off from normal D&D, so I think that's pretty cool. There are, like gods of knowledge and gods of enchantment and stuff like that, so I think that's not too far off. There's a spell point system you could use in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Okay. So I think that this will be like our idea, like every different idea for the magic systems can go in this one, and then the overall world, like how magic will affect the world, and if it's going to be like a high magic or low magic setting, then we'll put that in the like how magic works. That will be the final, like our actual world. How does magic affect it? And then this magic systems category, I know it sounds kind of confusing, but I think it will work. This will be like if we have 10 different ideas from people about how it will work, then we'll put those all in a list in here, and then we could pick one and put that into how magic works. Each type of school is governed by specific gods. Let's see. And we'll put all these in separate little bullet points just because I think they're all unique enough to merit their own discussion. Spellcasters use spell points instead of levels. Spells are cast through differing rarities and sizes of gemstones. Power of spell depends on the type of stone used, which is not too far off, from the physical properties and stuff that you need to cast spells in D&D, but I think it'd be cool to create a system that gets a little bit more detailed and involved than that. I think that's cool. One thing that I think is cool about creating, different types of items, like different groups of items, if this makes sense, is it's something that's a very common fantasy trope, but it almost always works, and it's almost always really cool. Like Lord of the Rings had the rings of power, right? Like all of the different rings that were given to the lords of each different race, and they all did different magical things, but there was one like super powerful one. That kind of thing is a very common idea in fantasy, and this gemstone thing, like in Diablo, for example, the things that you put into your equipment to give them magical properties are these different types of powerful gemstones. So I like the idea of having our own version of that, like this powerful array of different magical items that each one does something different, and collecting different types of them, gives you certain powers or properties. And if you're a spellcaster, if you have like the one white gemstone, you can cast divine magic or whatever, so I think that's pretty cool. So I don't really have any more ideas for that, but that's just what that made me think of, that kind of inspired by Diablo a little bit there. Yeah, absolutely. Mail at that right there is my email address for the Elder Council. I'll get all business related email there if you guys are interested in sending anything like that. If you're interested in selling anything, I'm not. Maybe weapons are powered by gemstones, fusing gems into the weapon. That would be very cool. Gem infused weapons. Who knows? That could be pretty neat. Save it there before we lose anything. Yeah, definitely throw out some different ideas, but thank you guys for everyone who has participated so far. Dr. Feargood, really appreciate it. Moondog, thank you guys so much. Let's see, what is it? It's already 7:15. We do have to end the stream before too long today. I can't go on until 9 o'clock as normal. I'm in Mountain Time, by the way. Usually if I'm posting about something or talking about the timing of the stream, as far as scheduling goes, I will usually post it in Eastern Time, just so everyone knows. The stream goes live every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we stream every Sunday at 9 a.m. No, 11 a.m. Eastern, sorry. Nobody uses Mountain Time, so it's hard to describe anything in the stream in Mountain Time because very low population. So I use Eastern because everyone knows that. At least you can kind of calculate your own time zone from there. But no one has Mountain Time. I'm not signing off quite yet, Moondog, but if you have to go, take it easy. Thank you so much for coming by. But just letting everyone know, heads up, that we will be ending it early tonight. Usually from now I would be gone for another hour and a half, but we don't have quite that long today. I just have to finish up a little bit earlier than normal tonight so we can make it to the gym on time and not have to stay up too late, Super busy with work and everything this week, and we're trying to fit everything in with the stream and podcast and me editing and uploading videos and still trying to make it to the gym. And it's a hard life out there with not enough time in the day. I'm sure you guys all understand that. But back on topic here, I think so far what we have is really cool, and I want to show you guys something that I think is super awesome that I was waiting on and I didn't know if we would get into today, but I think we might as well at least start thinking about it. We don't have to have anything concrete, but just for you guys to start getting that urge and start thinking about this, we have a map making program that we can use to create the world map eventually. And we won't, start making the final version or anything like that now because we don't even know what the world's going to be like. But eventually this is what we'll be using, Wonderdraft. I think there are different and potentially better map making programs out there, but this one is one of the ones that I have that I think works really well. Super easy to use, so that's why we're going to use it. And it will produce fully HD, even up to 4K images and resolutions of these maps that I can save and make available for you guys to download. So if we come up with a really cool world map for our campaign setting and you guys like it a lot, we can make it so you guys can download it for free and use it in your own worlds or games as well. So I just wanted to show you guys this a little bit so we can start thinking about it. It's got like random generator potential here. Landmass wizard. So if we just want let's see, the whole world, and we want it to be like super detailed and jagged and unique, and we want it to be about 70% water. So this would be like this tool is just like a generator that will generate the whole world map here. This would be what you would use to generate like an Earth-like map, right? Like 70% water, pretty detailed with a lot of jagged coastlines and rough edges, not just like a smooth, like basic, simple map. This is what you would do to generate that. So you just click generate, and it'll make you this whole world map. And this one is very like super heavily covered in water, 70%, like might even look like a little bit more than that. So you can tone down the water level if you don't like it, and it will just do it automatically. As you can see here, you can make it, you know, like Water World, where there's just a couple of small islands, or, you know, barely any land at all, or you can take it away and it will just populate as you go, and you can make it, you know, giant infinite desert land if you want to do that. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, and this is just one thing. You know, you can just keep generating different worlds. This one looks a little bit more Earth-like with some distinguished continents and stuff there. You can add land or whatever, and once you get a cool shape that you're happy with, you know, like this actually looks like it could be a real world, but it kind of looks a little too, I don't know, uniform or whatever. Like all of this whole thing, it's all connected. So you can go in with the landmass brush or whatever, and you can draw some more land in there if you want to flesh something out, or you can erase it. You can raise the coastlines a little bit and do just like a little jagged brush, make some islands. You can lower them so you can cut out holes in the land, and the brushes all have these like jagged edges so it looks more natural, you know. Make some lakes and stuff, and this is all, I'm just randomly, you know, doing this just to show you guys. Ground brush, you can make some jungles, whatever, lots of cool stuff. And then you can obviously go to your water, and let's see how the water appearance, let's see. Oh yeah, you can change the color of the water if you want your world to have crazy green water or whatever. We don't have to get into that. You use Incarnate now, but you wondered about this map maker. I think it's great. It's whatever, 20, 30 bucks, and you get it forever and permanently. You can just have this program. It works great. If you are familiar with Photoshop, I think you can do most of this in Photoshop pretty easily as well. But if you just want something to just pump out quick maps that look pretty decent, I think Wonderdraft is awesome. I also use Incarnate. I am subscribed to Incarnate. I use it very heavily. I use it for almost all of my dungeon maps. I think it works much better for that. So I think I use both of them and enjoy them both for different reasons. Gusto, what's going on? I'm just checking out Wonderdraft with all you guys. We got done with a little bit of some world building, got some cool ideas, and I'm just checking out and showing off Wonderdraft to give everyone some ideas for maybe get some map making on the brain for everybody. The eraser thing doesn't really, we haven't really drawn any water out yet, but eventually this is what we'll be using to create the world map for the world once we get an idea for what kind of world we want to create, right? So let's go back to this, and you can just keep, if you end up unhappy with something, you can just keep generating the world, and it keeps having the place where I painted the land on there, but it doesn't have to. You can erase that and go right back to it. And we could say, like, we don't want any detail, no roughness, and I think this will just generate, you know, like, yeah, smooth edge. Like, you could do this to create, you know, maybe this is just one country, and you can create a close-up map of just one place, and then you can piece them all together and come up with some really cool ideas for worlds like that. Gonna lurk while you game, pop back in with some ideas in a bit. Sweet, thank you so much. If you end up coming back and we are done, I do have to end the stream a little bit earlier than normal tonight. Be sure to check this out on YouTube later. I posted up week one's session earlier today. It is available now, and any comments that get left on these world building stream videos on YouTube, I will also add into the notes. But we'll still be here for a couple more minutes, just checking out this map creator and all that. Let's see, what other patterns do they have? Equirectangular is one I don't think I've seen yet. I don't know if this, let me check out the roughness and detail and stuff. What does this mean? So it's like, oh, that's cool. It's like the whole world is like an infinite plane kind of thing, but it has water inside of it. I don't know. That's kind of a weird one. One cool thing is you can generate the map like this. You generate a new map, and then if you don't like it, you can invert it. So it just places land where all your water is and water where all your land is. And this actually looks pretty cool. Like this looks fairly realistic, like pretty heavily water covered world, but you can always change that, right? Like that's pretty awesome. That looks like a thing that could actually exist. Who knows? You can just mess with it, and in the future, once we kind of come up with the way that we want our world to be, we can come in and fine tune this and create the actual world that we want. Archipelago, you can make super heavy island world, with lots and lots of little tiny islands all over the place. Like how crazy is that? And you could use this for one little island chain. It goes from it goes from lots of water to ban all land. Let's see. Atoll, I think, is like a big section of. Yeah, that is cool. Good for a pirate world. Yeah, this kind of thing. This is really cool. Um, this looks like if you've played Total War Warhammer, one of the kind of worlds of the Warhammer fantasy universe is a big atoll like this that's surrounding this like giant storm of magic that's releasing this like evil magic upon the world. And all of the factions, there's like hundreds of factions on this gigantic atoll that's like thousands of miles around. All of the factions inhabit different sections of this giant island, and it's really really cool. I love that kind of fantasy world. And you can just play with this kind of stuff. If you start with this cool idea, maybe you could go and it spirals inwards, right? And there's fewer and fewer cities until there's maybe one giant capital city right in the middle. And it also could spiral out and have some spiraling arms that come off the side. And it doesn't even have to look real. If it's a fantasy world, it can look however you want it to. Crazy tentacle world that was formed by mind flayers and created to breed humanoids on until they could come back and collect them for their brains or whatever. Like it could be whatever you want. So just think about that kind of stuff. Maybe it kind of looks like a beholder now, but we will come back to it in the future once we get a little better idea. And if you guys have some ideas by then, we can kind of try to craft the world. We may even come up with a whole group 10 different world maps, and then we'll do a vote for which world map everyone likes the most. You guys could submit your own if you decide that you want to go crazy and draw a whole world map for our community campaign setting. Then I'll definitely post it up and see if people want to vote on it or whatever. It's hypnotic. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's amazing the stuff you can come up with in just a few minutes of just putting yourself in the creative mindset, right? Now it looks like an apple that someone took a bite out of and it's going bad. And you can totally transform the world just by messing around with it a little bit, right? Let's go with the rough edge thing a little bit more here. Now it's like multiple continents, and you can even add, like maybe a little bit less of the rough edge there. You can add entirely different continents, and now we have like a real world map that kind of seems a little bit more realistic. And you can just do it in a couple minutes. And you can come up with a whole idea for a campaign setting just based on, randomly generating a world map, creating your different factions, where they inhabit. And the easiest way to create a campaign setting and a story for a campaign is war. Obviously, nowadays we don't like it, and we have very strong opinions about how horrible and terrific, terrible war is. And for very good reason. It's awful. But throughout history on this planet, there's pretty much not ever been a period where human beings have existed and they haven't been at war with each other. So it's the most primal and instinctive story driving theme that you can put into a world. So create a bunch of factions and make them be at war with each other. Boom, easy, done, compelling story that people want to play a part of. You make some cool factions. That's all you need. People want to pick a side and they want to fight the other ones and they want to win. That's why stories like Game of Thrones and Harry Potter are so popular. The houses in Harry Potter, the kingdoms in Game of Thrones, people naturally want to join a team and fight for that team. It's just part of our evolutionary makeup. So it's an easy way to create a compelling campaign story, and I think it's a really cool idea if you guys want to get into that kind of stuff. Once we start crafting the factions, we can spend a lot of time on that, because I think that it's pretty important to a good cohesive story is coming up with that kind of thing. And I think Matt Colville probably was the one who said it, like, if your world in your campaign is not at war, you need a way better reason for that than the reason that they are at war, right? War is just second nature. Everyone almost always is at war. So if they're not, why? Because there's definitely got to be some important stuff going on politically for the reason that everyone is at peace on the whole planet, because that's very rare. So that's also something to think about. If you come up with that really cool, crazy reason that everyone is at peace, let's hear it. But I think for today, we won't save any of that, so I'll just kind of silly randomness. That'll do it for today. I'm going to end the stream here just so I can get done early enough to go hit the gym and hang out with my girlfriend before we have to go to bed. Got some long days tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow with the next episode of the Elder Council campaign. We'll be doing a little bit of a shorter episode, probably an hour or two, just to level up the characters, get them some downtime in so they can go back to the village and restore their inventories, get some new magic items and healing potions and all that good stuff. Maybe learn a little bit more lore about what they're doing and learn about their next adventure. And then we'll be back on Thursday for the next episode of the live podcast. As far as the live podcast, if there's any monsters in the monster manual that you guys are interested in talking about every week, we're going to do a little bit of a quick glance at the monster manual once a week, and I will be open to suggestions. If there's one monster that you love that you'd really like to hear me talk about, shoot it over to me on Twitter or an email or in the stream at any time, and I will remember that and we'll take a look at it. So that's going to be it for today. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. If you missed any of this or you want to tune in later to this, it'll be on YouTube. If you watch this on YouTube, thank you very much. Come check out the live stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, and Sunday mornings over here on Twitch. I think that'll do it for me today, guys. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Dr. Feargood, thanks a lot for all your input, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow for the campaign. Moondog, thank you for hanging out. Hope to see you again. Gusto, thanks for the lurk, man. Flim, thanks for being here. Really appreciate everybody's help, and I really have been enjoying this world building. I can't wait to see where it goes next. I will come up with some ideas on my own throughout the week and add them to the page and show you guys next week. But I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good night, and thank you so much.